So I just want to make a video talking about why I've been avoiding ethnic restaurants. Basically, I've noticed that there's this one-way support going on, or this one-way exchange. Basically, I'll patronize, and many other ADOs patronize these Mexican and Latino restaurants and these different Asian restaurants, right? But I rarely see Mexicans and Latinos and Asians attending or patronizing, say, a soul food restaurant or an African ethnic restaurant or just a restaurant owned by an ADOS of any type. So there's basically a one-way exchange going on where we're supporting their businesses, but they're not supporting ours. Now, I'm not saying this is all Latinos or all Asians. I have seen them in all sorts of ADOS owned restaurants, but one, it's not on the same level, and two, it's usually more assimilated or integrated types that are patronizing those restaurants. What I mean is, it's usually the very the very ethnic or first generation or first language speakers that don't patronize ADOS restaurants or businesses. And that's not to denounce or degrade people for immigrating here. Of course, it would take time to integrate. That's not degrading anyone's culture or speaking their first language. I'm saying, one, that's just what I noticed, and it's probably has to do with when you're very ethnic, you keep to you're self-contained in your community. A lot of Latinos, they shop at Latino supermarkets, Latino-owned stores. They eat at Latino restaurants. It's the same thing with Asians. They shop in Chinatowns. They shop at Asian-owned supermarkets, Asian clerks, with Asian clerks, that type of thing. They just tend to stay in their self-contained little islands. Another thing I note, and another reason why I bring that up is because some people will say maybe they don't branch out because there's a language barrier or a cultural barrier. Well, I don't speak fluent Spanish. I don't speak Asian languages, and we're able to patronize their stores. So that's just not an excuse. Another issue I have is I rarely feel warmth when I'm patronizing these restaurants, especially Asian restaurants. There's rarely a genuine hello. There's rarely conversation. There's rarely a smile. There's just this cold exchange. There's just this standoffish behavior, which is, I just started realizing it's kind of off putting. It's a bit offensive, especially when I'm aware of what these communities or demographics think of us. We already know that a lot of these Asian populations don't tell their children not to date us and not to bring us home as a potential fiance and that sort of thing. They're biased, they're casteist. So just to know that this is playing out in these restaurants and businesses makes it hard to patronize those businesses when we're supporting them in this one way support one in this one way exchange. And I don't just mean restaurants. in a lot of ADOS concentrated neighborhoods, there's the East Asian, South Asian owned liquor store. There's the laundromats. There's the hair salons. There's the beauty stores. And it's all one way exchange. It's all one way support from with populations that look down on us, who discriminated against us, and some who have even more um, shady attitudes towards us. I mean, a lot of these same demographics try to tear down, try to obliterate, what's that thing? Affirmative action while saying nothing about legacy emissions, right? A lot of these people are like white caste worshippers, colonizer worshippers, who are 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 into the are practice the model minority thing. They're very silent about police brutality as long as they're cool with the white caste people. It's like something's off. It's like, how are we one way supporting these people who are either tribalistic, standoffish, cold, and who don't support us one way, or even worse, are basically actively oppressing us or trying to slip us up, if you will. So I'm just going to avoid that. I'm still willing to go to like U.S. Americanized ethnic foods like Chipotle, like because then there's ADOS workers there, there's ADOS managers there, uh, but these basically ethnic stores and restaurants I'm avoiding.